What's up YouTube? RD Hannon here to talk to you guys about Street Fighter 6 characters. Game's been out for about a month now. I think it's important that we kind of break down the different characters. I think the first thing that we should do that's important is kind of go over the actual mechanics of the game. So for instance, we do have the overdrive gauge, which is like the little green bar that appears under your health bar that kind of dictate what moves you're able to do and how you're able to use them. I kind of like to relate it to a kind of like a stamina gauge. You have several different mechanics that kind of use that gauge. You have drive rush, which is kind of more of an offensive mechanic, using drive rush to kind of make your character rush towards your opponent, either making some moves advantageous or opening up some different opportunities for, combos and stuff. We also have drive parry, which is more so a defensive mechanic that allows you to, as in the name it tells, it allows you to parry moves. We also have drive impact, which is a mechanic that can be used either offensively or defensively, kind of a push away mechanic to get your opponent off of you if you're receiving a lot of pressure, or you can also use it to do a considerable amount of damage if you want to. Burnout, which is the state you go into after you've used all of your drive gauge, and now you're in a state where you're kind of like in a fight for your life situation where you have to be a little bit more reserved instead of applying pressure. This also gives your opponent more of an advantage over you, giving them more plus frames, and then also kind of giving them the opportunity to put you in a stun state if you are back against the wall. And then we have the overdrive to your special moves, which basically enhances the special moves and making them more powerful, also opening up different combo opportunities and also just some different levels of pressure. So now that we got the mechanics out the way, I would like to go over the first character on the roster, and that being Luke. Luke is a more of a rushdown character, kind of in your face, and he's basically the new face of Street Fighter. He's on the cover and everything. So some of Luke's pros is that he has really good fireball. It's very fast, and he has multiple different levels of fireball. So he has a close one, a medium, and then a far one, but the far one doesn't really reach full screen, which is kind of one of his small gripes I have about him. Very versatile moves for just about every situation that he gets himself into. He has extremely high damage potential, which for Luke is really good, especially when you get really good with executing some of his moves. He has some very, very good damage he can do once you get more experience with the character. He's not so dependent on the drive gauge, but he uses it very well if you learn the game well enough and know how to use the overdrive. He gets really good with the gauge and can do some pretty nutty things. And he has some really good buttons that kind of move him forward. And in this game, momentum is very important because you want to try to close the gap as much as possible to kind of keep your opponent in check. So that way, any moves they choose to do, you can more than likely stuff them if you have a move that moves you forward more so into their face. So if they choose to do like a drive rush at you, you can more than likely stuff them. One of Luke's cons that I think he has currently right now is his conversion isn't just so plain Jane. He does have some pretty simple combos, but those aren't the ones that do the big damage. But once you really start to break into the layers of the character, you start to get more into the meaty damage that he can do. But that stuff requires patience, time, and a lot of practice. You have to really understand the drive gauge very well, and then just the overall drive system to get the most out of Luke and basically capitalize on what Luke can actually do.
Started from the bottom and I'll never look back. Look at all my haters, y'all make